So, being aware of that you're in a dream is very nice because when something bad happens, it doesn't matter. You just either reset, so before something bad happened, or alternatively, if it's something pertaining to real life, well, it isn't real life, so Groundhog Day. Except minus being able to learn piano and ice sculpting and kung fu.
You could probably learn all that.
But not in your dream, because your dream you have to already have knowledge in order to experience.
Yeah, but you subconscious is seeing a lot
Okay,
more.
so okay, sure. Intersectly, yeah, maybe.
I mean, your subconscious is more aware than your conscious is.
Okay, so it could.
Real big yawn.
Okay, so it could take so it could take stuff out of your deep memory,
Right.
Your subconscious memory, and put it in. Right, because the only thing that happens in your dreams, is things you already know, right? Knowledge you already have, or rather, experiences you had, right? You can gain knowledge from, and knowledge you have, you can gain understanding from. Mm-hmm. There's three different forms of data. There's like experiences, right? Life, memories of life, from which your brain will singularize out individual bits of knowledge, generally in the form of a concept, although occasionally, sometimes in the form of concepts, otherwise sometimes in the form of just a piece of knowledge, like pi equals 3.1415, right, to it, right? Avogadro's constant equals 10 times... Okay, don't worry about that. 6 times 10 to the 23rd. Point something other. Moles, right? Or atoms per mole. So... yeah.
Beautiful yawn.
There's memory, which, right, so you read a book, or you watch a video, or you look at life or something. You gain knowledge from that, someone talks to you. You gain knowledge from your memory. Your memories encompasses everything. Generally, if you have a keyword, you can access knowledge and memory. And generally, if you have a knowledge, you have a piece of knowledge, you can sometimes access a memory keyword. Right? You can access what memory you learned it from. And if you have a memory keyword, you can generally access what knowledge you learned it from. Or what knowledge you learned from it. Though, only really if you're thinking about it, I guess, at that time. Since individual slices of memory are only brought up at one time, in order to play through a large portion of memory, you have to either remember that one fully, or be able to have the keywords for each. Otherwise, you're only going to bring up an individual slice, and you probably would not have even thought about that recently necessarily. But you'll still be able to remember that individual slice, and possibly the entire thing, because you had that keyword that brought you back there. Now, regular memory, or not, that's not regular memory. So, data storage, knowledge, or actually concept storage. Concept storage. It deals with concepts and can probably be brought up more at will than needing specifically a keyword or set of keywords, right? So, alright, so,
Keep going.
So, there's a lot of knowledge or of memory that is subconsciously kept, and you have to access it subconsciously. And occasionally, yeah, you can access a subconscious memory, but sometimes you don't necessarily. Now, once you have knowledge, pieces of knowledge, occasionally a bit of experience. So, I wouldn't necessarily classify it as, but I don't know if you necessarily classify it as. I would classify it, though. Somewhat, anyways, So motor knowledge is kind of a fourth form of knowledge of data. There's motor knowledge. So there's concept, there's individual bits of knowledge, right? Like the number of pi, what number pi is, and then there's what XYZ times blah 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 is. There's also muscle memory, right? And they're two similar. So if I were to draw it out, here is knowledge, or memory. Here's memory, experiences. You can gain memory from life, experiences. Then that branches, it comes forwards, and it branches into both muscle memory and data memory, right? So muscle memory is how to do some fancy martial arts, how to cook something, whereas, take an example of cooking. The individual motions of cooking something, how to knead, how to whisk an egg, how to pour something without having to mess up. Those are muscle memories, to some extent. Well, things like how much egg to use, how much flour to use, how much water, how long to do everything for, right? What it would look like when it's done. That is not exactly concept memory, but it's close, right? Yeah, that's kind of. So there's two portions of data storage of memory, of knowledge memory. There's concept memory and there's variable memory. When I say variable memory, I mean things like pi equals 2.1415926, right? I feel like they kind of overlap. So concept memory be something more of more of an abstract concept, whereas something more worldly, more finite would be what I describe as a variable memory. So, example of concept memory would be the concept of how a certain thing, quantum physics, works. The concept that gravity goes down unless you're in a ship and have to switch directions. In which case down has no way to mean so. The concept that if I look behind me, there's still going to be a wall there, which actually, you should not learn that one. Do not learn that one. It is completely false. There's a simulation.
What?
So, behind me, there is no wall, except for the fact that the camera is observing it. So that the cameras are observing that there is a wall. But actually, the wall will be photoshopped there by the devs later. Simulation argument. So in the simulation argument, simulation hypothesis, if I look behind me, the wall will instantly manifest itself into appearance, right? But since I'm not currently looking there, not that I'm looking at the camera, it's not going to be there. You will see it, but I will not, because it's not there. And thus, the only reason for it to be there is because you can see it. For example, something over here, I don't know if you can see my hand. Can you see my hand?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Well, stay there. See, over there? Stay looking there. Alright, so I'm going to look this way. Doesn't exist anymore. There's a piece of paper over there. There's a cup or two. Doesn't exist anymore. Because the data processing power used to render every single atom of it is not needed. You only need to render what the surface looks like until I take a microscope to it or start doing chemical reactions to it.
This isn't
it doesn't need to render everything else.
Virtual world.
Yeah. It needs to have the surface look there, and if I pick it up, it needs to have the physical properties of being movable and having the weight it has. And you have to have data storage of what it's made up of, right? But you don't need to render what it's made up of. You just need to render the surface. Until I start doing stuff to it that will make it have to render the chemical structure, like putting acid on it, or putting it into some sort of centrifuge, blending it up into a centrifuge, cutting it at microscopic scale, atomic scales, right? he's not going to have to know what it's made of. Until then. Well, we'll have to know, but we won't have to render it. So if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, well, it actually doesn't make a sound, because it doesn't actually fall. Well, it technically, the physics simulation of it does, but the actual cosmetic rendering of it doesn't. So, I was watching a video about how the devs of a game that I admire, it's called Rain World. And
what?
Rain World.
Huh?
And I haven't actually played it, but it uses a very interesting simulation. It's not like a simulation, but what I like about it is that all the enemies and all the mobs, right? All the creatures there. Generally, in regular games, the AI for the creatures there is wanting to kill the player. It's all player-centered. Everything's centered around the player, you. The guards and stuff are there for you to conquer. Defeat. But in Rain World, the different creatures are there not to kill you, so much as to get their own food and get back to base. Their survival is what they put first, not necessarily getting you. If you happen to be going through the round, well, yeah, you're toast, but their goal is not necessarily to get you. Some creatures do prefer the player over other things, right? Little tiny slug cat. But some creatures are different and will actively get other prey, even if you're, say, around, right? And also another thing that they use is so they don't render the entire cosmetics of everything, right? It's a very detailed pixelated world. And also, since everything is happening, stuff is happening even on screens or not, right? It's not frozen there. It actually is happening there. So, simulation argument, oops. It is actually being rendered there. Well, it isn't being rendered. So the physics simulation is happening there. Which means that the creatures can still move around, they can still hunt, they can still get into fights. And when you appear on the screen, they'll still be in different places than they were before. And occasionally a lizard will be gone. Or something will be gone, right? Something will change. The only thing they render when you're not there is just a physics simulation. A little tiny wire mesh model. Actually, not a wire mesh model. It's a stickman figure, right? It's a stick figure of each creature with different joints. But there's no cosmetics there. They just render the physics simulation. And so they would render a physics simulation of a tree, the stick figure of a tree. It would fall, and it would have certain less distinct joints, and certain parts of it would be known to have certain weaknesses, right? But you'd only be able to have to render those weaknesses if it was falling. If it was standing still, you wouldn't have to render any of the weaknesses, unless something hit it or it fell. Yeah? Alright, so, oh yes, rendering. So, if you throw something at the tree, right, or something lands on the tree, some physics is interacting with the tree, besides just air, though technically air would have to be rendered. It would be very complicated. Rather, the individual eddies would, not actually the individual air particles. There's enough, right, there's enough redoable, predictable physics in air that not every single individual particle would be able to. It can be abstracted. So, what?
It's just really distracting me. The sound of the outside. Can we pause for just 1 second for that?
Okay.
Okay. Picking up from where we left off. Okay. Rendering.
So, as soon as the tree fell, or started to fall, right? Well, actually, it would fall because of something would break, right? Or because of a large wind gust. Probably both. And the process of fall, so when it broke, its parts, and actually, not the entire tree with the physics module would have to be initialized. but only a rather outside physics model. So the inside physics module is just inside physics the stick tree, right? The stick figure thing. That is needs to be there at all times. That way birds can land on it and can go away, right? But really, you just need the bounding box. You don't even need the bounding box for bird. You don't even need the bounding box, the arm of the tree, right? The twigs, how linked the twigs are. You just need to know their radius and know their radius all across, and you can create a cross section.
Create a cross section.
Cross section, and then you just need to know the positions of a bird's legs and the size of its body, and you can create a rendering of that without actually rendering the cosmetics or actually any of the physics stuff. You just have to do a few mathematical computations, and there you go. Your bird, i.e. a dot of energy, has now landed on your tree, aka a stick. So, you don't even need bounding boxes. Now, when a person enters the forest, you do need to load it. Or actually, you need to load it slightly before they enter the forest. It depends on how fast your loading processes are. Theoretically, your loading processes have to be at least as fast as how fast your neurons work, right? So, ideally, yeah, you load anything that's within location of them. I think they're going to go towards. Because if I turn my head as fast as I can, this thing wall behind me, or I guess actually you're observing it. So if something's observing something, it has to be, if the original person the simulation is built for, or any of the people the simulation is built for, are observing something, or are using some sort of object to observe something, it has to be there. It will render for them, but not for nothing. So, for example, the tree outside, if nobody was looking at it, it wouldn't render. You would have a stick figure, you'd have the stick tree, but you wouldn't actually have the cosmetic rendering, the bark and the leaves and everything else, because you wouldn't need that to be used. Your processing power wouldn't need to process it. So, and that's how you can save and process power quite easily. By deciding not to render things that aren't currently being looked at or used. They're being interacted with, but nothing more than air. Yeah. So. Where was I before we got this? Oh yes, concepts. The concept that stuff doesn't have to render. Which...
This actually all began with the concept of memory.
Yes. So concepts, concepts can contain knowledge. That's why I kind of say that concepts and knowledge overlapped. Is because, well, a concept and knowledge, they do kind of overlap, because if you want to, if you have a concept, right, you can not just gain, but you can use a concept as a keyword to get knowledge, right, to take out of your storage disk, right, knowledge, specific set of knowledge. So you can take, like, the concept of chemistry, and you can drag out, it's kind of a full folder, right? It's a small box, a folder on your computer that says, okay, this is chemistry, this is simulation hypothesis, right? You can do concepts both individual things and also as folders. So in JavaScript, I would think if real life is JavaScript, I would think of concepts as objects. So that's kind of what they're like. They're half variable, half array, half their own thing. Why did we use half so much when it was obviously thirds and fourths we're talking about? So yes. So once you have, so you have experiences, right? Memory, and this always stays here generally, although generally very hard to access. Concepts and knowledge are much easier to access. So it splits off, and it comes into muscle memory, which you gain from practice, and knowledge, which you gain from, well, sometimes practice, but sometimes you can learn it from just willing yourself to know it. And then you have concepts, right? Now, concepts, and also knowledge, to some extent probably muscle memory, but I'm not going to include that, can come forwards, right? They can come forwards, and they can turn into our third, or I'm going to say 3, because muscle memory is kind of an offset of knowledge. It's its own form of knowledge. So our final muscle, our final memory group is, well, circuits. So when you have knowledge, right, you can make a conclusion from a bunch of knowledge. And really, this is kind of what a concept is. This is the variable version of an object, right? So the singular, not the folder box style, but the actual singular thing of a concept. It's a circuit, a conclusion you come to, right? A specific circuit of transistors, neurons, that does a certain operation. For example, you can have a concept circuit of how to do arithmetic. 5 plus 7 equals 12. You do 15 plus 10, right? So every single circuit that you know what to do. So if you know like your times tables, then that's knowledge, not a circuit. But if you know how to do times, then that's a circuit. In a computer, you have arithmetic circuits that will do certain things, right? You have different logic gates, and you put different logic gates together, you make different arithmetic circuits. Regulations. Now, concepts, kind of circuits. Let's think of other types of circuits. To some extent, muscle memory is kind of a circuit, right? It's knowing how to do something. And so if you have a circuit, it's kind of more like a habit. It's an instinctual, ingrained habit. Now, when the brain develops, it has certain circuits built in, right? How to eat, what water is, more or less how to talk, the idea of using your vocal cords. And I guess you could say that muscle memory is kind of a circuit too, since it's built in how to move your muscles. So a circuit is something that is predefined, so you can forget, or rather not be able to access, long lost, right, subconscious or conscious memories in your database. And you can possibly not be at that moment thinking about your knowledge, right, about the knowledge pertaining to that circuit, and maybe not even the concept pertaining to that circuit, but that circuit. You can still do that circuit without having the knowledge and without having the memory. Someone who's completely forgot their past, right? They've had head trauma or something. Someone who doesn't remember anything. They still know to talk, they still know to eat, they still know to walk, ride a unicycle. But they don't know to ride a unicycle. But still, if they knew that you ride a unicycle, they probably would know that you ride a unicycle. Because circuits, not entirely muscle circuits, but they're half muscle, half knowledge circuits, right? Concepts. They're stored in different parts of the brain in different ways. Instead of being ingrained as a series of neural impulses, they are actual circuits. That's why I call them circuits, because they are actually ingrained into the way your brain works. Unless your brain is
circle. Go ahead.
Chopped in half and dissected and rearranged in random ways by some 4-year-old, you're still gonna know all the things you knew before, or you're still not gonna know like the actual information. You'll still have the circuits that you had before you lost memory.
A circuit is a circle.
Yeah.
It's a closed loop.
Yeah. A computer's a closed loop.
How so?
Okay, so a circuit's anything that electricity goes through. So a computer's is a very, very, very long closed loop. It winds its way around your electricity. It splits in half and winds its way around and splits in half again and splits and splits and splits and splits and more winds and things, and it goes everywhere.
But then it comes back.
And then it all comes back out through the other end of the power supply. There's two holes, two wires in your power supply. One goes in, the other goes out. They go into the plug.
Yeah, but you're
and they go out all the way up.
You're saying knowledge is part of a circuit.
Yeah, your brain's a circuit.
I guess I'm trying to visualize what you're...
It twists around in here, then it goes all the way out through everywhere else, and then comes all the way back up. It's a circuit.
Alright.
A portion of a circuit, I guess really what technically my version of a concept is, right? Knowing how to do something. So muscle memory and concepts are
part of a whole.
Yeah, they're actually they overlap to some extent. Actually, come to think of it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my revised here's my revised map. Okay, so there's knowledge, and it comes out and it splits into muscle memory, or there's memories. It splits into experiences, splits into muscle memory and knowledge, and they two come over and come into concepts. They're both part of concepts, right? And actually, if you look at this, it is kind of a circuit, so it's a one-way circuit. Still, it does loop. Do that, then doing this. Right. How did I get on knowledge and memory again?
We were talking about dreams, I think, originally.
Oh, yes! Right. So dreams, you don't ever gain new information in dreams. You can, okay, well technically, okay. So when I say information, I mean, in the quantum physics sense.
Well, okay,
sort of.
Yeah, my argument has been that you can't gain, that it's not that you learning a new skill, it's that if you've been exposed to that skill.
Yes, so you're not gonna randomly gain information in your brain in sleep, right? But like the energy in the universe, you can rearrange it in different ways.
Right.
It's all conserved. You can rearrange it in different ways, though, which means that you can take your memory, right? So you can take the experiences of a day or past experiences from a different day, and you can take out different pieces of knowledge from there, right? Your brain will automatically, it will take out different knowledges, and possibly muscle memory, but I don't know. It will take out different bits of knowledge from your experiences of the day.
I had it this way this whole time.
Okay. Different experiences from your knowledge of the day, or different knowledges from your experiences of the day, or experiences in past, right? Your subconscious, subliminal experiences. And this knowledge will be fed into your knowledge centers, and your brain may stop there, although it's likely that it'll take possibly part of that knowledge and other pieces of knowledge and form it together, conglomerate it into circuits. So you can gain circuits, right? You can gain concepts, understanding of concepts. Understanding, that's really what a circuit is understanding. What I call a circuit, a neural circuit, right?
What you're defining.
Well, I'm just defining it's a neural circuit in the brain.
Neural circuit.
Fine,
sure.
that's a neural circuit. This is definitely not a circuit. A circuit in a computer is not
It's not electric.
Philosophically, technically.
I don't know. It's just...
Depends how... Then you get to, like, deeper...
I guess when I think of circuit, I think of energy source, line, energy output.
There's something
and I guess
in
the electron
there,
does come back to the energy source.
Generally.
I don't know. All of a sudden now I realize circuits are bizarre things. Okay.
Electricity is bizarre things. If you actually, like, think about it.
Yeah.
This wise man once said, anybody who tells you they don't understand electricity is completely lying. Go look up what's invisible more than you think untethered. John Lloyd, I think is his name. So,
let's get rid of the
moo, moo, moo.
Yes, exactly.
So moo, moo. Right.
We could also go have lunch now. We've been talking for 30 minutes.
A neural circuit. What?
We're getting right behind. Keep going. I've had it this way the whole time.
No, you just had it this way.
No, I had it at an angle. Audience, tell me if I had it at an angle. See, at an angle. Okay, see, the silliness has come in.
Alright. So neural circuits.
Yes.
I want to
Finish up.
Here.
Okay.
What was I saying before we got interrupted by
Silliness.
philosophical electricity? Xlit.
Brains, memories,
Neural circuits.
dreams.
Oh, right, yes. So you can gain new neural circuits, understanding, right? New neural circuit understanding. When you sleep, right? When you're dreaming, in your dream. And you can also possibly extract new knowledge from old memories. New knowledge you did not previously have. So your dreams do two things. They extract new knowledge from old memories, and they take new and old knowledge and mix it together and align into a neural circuit. Yeah. In other words, I just summarize in a sentence or two what this entire 30 minutes was about. The other portion of 30 minutes was giving you the context about that.
And so if you like these long dialogues of tangents that we go under, you should really go check out our podcast, which I don't think we're going to put on YouTube because it's no fun to have a podcast without, audio without visual, unless you stick on visual at the same time. But we're going to be creating a podcast probably on Anchor, and we hold like 3-hour-long conversations, so after we've eaten or while we're eating. So I highly, if you want to hear all the other cool things he has to chat about. And he's checking in with his posture. I hope you are too. Everybody, shoulders back, chest up, check your neck alignment.
And as always,
Bring on.
and go get up and get some food and some water and something. Run around.
Stretch. Do a pull-up on the pull-up bar.
JK's not doing it. And as always, thanks for listening, watching. I'm used to saying listening now, aren't I?
Yeah, go down the podcast.
And as always, remember to just breathe. May the force be with you. JK.